Hola. Long time no see. So, I figured I would come on quickly and try and talk about my process. I have a few minutes. My daughter is taking her Spanish lessons online, and I am doing laundry. So, anywho, so a little bit about my story is that I started looking at moving to Mexico, getting a place in Mexico about 4 years ago. I started doing research. Um, I'm just prepping my laundry. I spray everything down and all that stuff before. So that's what I'm doing. Um, so yeah, I started researching things 4 years before I actually made any moves. So that was looking into different places in Mexico. I looked at Oaxaca. I looked at Puerto Escondido. Then in the fall of 2021 is when I actually secured the money to buy the Mexico house. So I was able to do that with the HELOC from my property in the States. And what I did from there is I got the HELOC. I decided like how much was I going to spend, how much was I willing to spend for my budget. And so that was in the fall of 2021. So January January of 2022, so that's last year. I had joined some expat groups on Facebook. I wasn't, I'm still not active like on there, like chitty chatty, things like that. I just kind of look at the questions that other people ask and get the answers to my questions. So I also, a tip that I would do if you're looking at an area in Mexico or Mérida specifically, is to change your location on Facebook on the marketplace to Mérida. That will allow you to see properties for sale in the area. I put like a 20-mile radius around there that I wanted to see properties that are for sale. And also, it will help if you've studied some Spanish. So I did in January of 2021, I started taking um, informal Spanish lessons, like with apps. There's a 7-day Spanish course that I took, and just learning some basic Spanish terms, and then using Google Translate to help me with when I was looking at listings for houses on Facebook. Because it helps if you can communicate in Spanish so that you make sure you get, not gringo priced. So I looked up all the words to different things like cocina, planta alta, which is like the upstairs, planta baja, downstairs alacena, which means pantry. Things that I wanted to find in the house, I made sure I knew those words straight away. And I just started looking at houses. So then I was looking at the properties on Facebook, and I started reaching out to people in Spanish to see like what's the process. And I did find like a house that I really thought I loved, and then the real estate agent started talking with me, and I later found out that she just assumed that I was privately her client, which I just was asking her questions about the house that she had for sale. But let's see what else is on my list. So then I'm communicating back and forth with her in Spanish about the house, but this is like January, and my first exploratory trip was in April of 2022. So this is January of 2022 when I'm like seeing houses that I like within my budget, and I'm like, hey, está disponible? Is this available? And some of them were, some of them weren't. So you'll find all kinds of things. A lot of times the pictures are really crappy of the houses, but when you communicate with the real estate agents, you can ask to send you videos and pictures, and those will be better. Also, I learned from the Facebook groups that I needed to have WhatsApp, so I got that. Um, that's in a text messaging app that everyone in Mexico uses, so I went ahead and downloaded that so that I could talk to people outside of Facebook. Generally, if you start a chat on Facebook, they're going to want to talk on WhatsApp outside of Facebook. So I did that, and then long story short, that house that I was talking to that young lady about, I ended up getting a realtor that was recommended in one of the Facebook groups. I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I'm coming, in April. This was still in January. I said, would you help me find a house when I get there? And he was like, yeah. So I told him my budget, and so he said, is there anything you're specifically interested in? And I said, actually, I've been talking to a young lady about a house. So then he went over there, checked the house out for me, and came back and told me that basically the owners did not want to deal with any real estate agents but her, and that he thought it would be difficult for me to purchase that house. So I kind of put that on the back burner, and I was just like, well, what? I'm just going to keep, I had some months before I had to leave anyway. So I worked on everything else I needed to do to prepare to go for my first exploratory trip. So, before I left, my agent told me to bring the original and the hard copies of my power bills, like my electric bill and my water bill that had my name showing my address here in the States. And I did bring my birth certificate with me showing, that I was where I was born and all that stuff. Of course, you got to have your passport. So I did that. What else did I want to tell y'all? So I went on that exploratory trip, and if you look at my house hunting videos, one of the homes that I looked in, I actually put an offer on, and it didn't work out because we later found out. So you go to the house, you look around, their agent is there, your agent is there, and then if you like the house and you want to kind of hold it for 5 days or so that they can't like put it under contract, but then you can still look at other houses, you have to give them like what we consider earnest money in the States. So I gave them the money. At the time it was 20,000 pesos. So I gave them the money, and then I went on looking at other houses, but thinking, this one, I guess I'll just get this one. And it wasn't my favorite, but the price was really, really good. And I was like, I could make it what I wanted it to be. And it had the bones of what I was looking for in a house in a great neighborhood. So I'm like, okay, well, 2 days later, my agent calls me and he's like, yeah, the house has a mortgage on it, which is a no-no. Things are not like it is in the States. Most people own their homes in Mexico. So the fact that this house had a mortgage on it, for me to get the title from them, I would have to give them the money they owed on their mortgage and whatever above and beyond they had asked for the price of the home, and hoping that they would be a good steward and actually pay the mortgage off. They could just take the money and leave, and I wouldn't get a deed to the house. So that's too risky. And I don't know them, they don't know me. So we were like, nope, give me my money back. And that's that. So we went back, got my money back, And I was just looking on Facebook Marketplace, and also looking at the listings that my agent was taking me to, which he took me to a lot of privadas. And I didn't want a house in a privada. I wanted to live in just a regular Mexican neighborhood. I don't want to pay HOA fees. I don't want to have to deal with any kind of regulations or anything like that. So I was like, you know what? Because the HOA fee, okay, is $50 a month now. What is it going to be in 10 years? And I might not feel like what they're charging is worth it to me. So I was like, no, I don't want that. So then we go on, and we're going through the houses that I sent him from Facebook Marketplace, and we come upon the house that I ended up buying. And so the process there was to give them yet again the earnest money. So I basically took the same 20,000 pesos that I had given to the other people just a few days before. I gave it to the builder, and signed a sheet of paper saying that I promised that I'm going to um, make payments to pay this house down on a schedule. So then we met with his lawyer, um, and she actually ended up being an immigration attorney as well, Menendez and Associados. And she ended up being my immigration attorney to help me get residency as well. So we did that. She set up the payment schedule, and basically I made payments from April up until October to pay the house in full. Some of those payments were in cash, and some of those payments were via bank transfers. So as far as bank transfers, the first exploratory trip that I went on there, I opened a bank account in Intercam. So as far as I know, there's only one Intercam in Mérida. And they will allow you to open a bank account with them as a foreigner. You don't have to have residency. So I went ahead and did that. You go in the bank, make an appointment, and they do all the paperwork and everything. Um, and then they set the account up for you, and then they give you the information on how to transfer money in. So how they get you to transfer the money in is that they have a bank in New York. So you do a domestic transfer to the New York bank, and then you let your banker in Merida know that, hey, I put some money in the bank in New York. Can you suck it down and transfer it to pesos? So that's how I was able to get money to make payments on the house. What else did I want to tell you guys? So I told you you didn't need residency. So of course you don't need residency to buy the house, and you don't need it to get a bank account. At least at Intercam. At least at Intercam. Okay, and I think that's really so I'll tell you what's different about the closing process. That's a big thing that's a big difference from buying a home in the States. Um, you can close on a house and not actually have the deed, because houses in Merida are within the 50 kilometers of the ocean. So your house is going to need to be in a trust, which is done through a bank. And those fees are totally separate and outside of whatever the cost of the house. You have to pay the legal fees associated with that, and then there's a yearly fee associated with maintaining the trust. So mine is around $400 a year to maintain that trust. So what happened? So yeah, so you don't have to. So you can actually be living in the house and not have the deed to the trust yet, because the trust is made by the bank, and the banks do things on their own time. So the I actually had access to the house even before it was paid for, to be honest. My builder because I had paid 2/3 of it. He was like, the house has power. You can move in if you want. I mean, and he lives across the street, so it's not like he couldn't find me, yeah, or whatever. So he gave me keys and access to the house before I ever paid the last installment to pay off the cost of the house. And I actually just got my trust paperwork. So this was back in the last week of September or the first week of October, and 2022 is when I got the keys to the place, made the last payment. I didn't get my deed to the house, so it's the fideicomiso. I didn't get that paperwork until mid-February 2023. So that's been like 5 months. So that's the biggest difference. Things just take time there, and even though I had paid all the bank fees and everything for my trust, and we started the process last April, it still took however long it took to get my paperwork in hand. Um, if I think of anything else, I'll type it in the description below. If you all have any questions in addition that I didn't answer for during this process, um, put them down below, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. I hope that you all are well, and I'll see y'all next time.